A Seoul-based American academic says Japan will likely play a greater security role in the region because of the heightened missile threat posed by North Korea.
The North Korean missile threat, at least at the moment, is actually aimed at Japan more than anybody else. I think this doesn't get as much attention as it should. North Korea can already devastate South Korea, right? North Korea is close enough to South Korea. South Korea is a small, dense place that North Korea doesn't really need all these fancy missiles to do a lot of damage. North Korea cannot reach the United States yet. They want to get there. It's not clear to me that North Korea would actually want to strike other democracies in Asia, like the Philippines or Australia. What are all these medium-range tests for? Who's left? Right? Nobody talks about this, but that's what all this testing right now, I would argue a lot of this stuff is aimed at Japan.
Kelley, however, said while the Japanese government would not push for amending the anti-war clause of the post-war constitution, it would keep on pushing and pushing the charter's boundaries so Japan could defend itself from attack by foreign enemies.
I would be very surprised if the Japanese don't buy a THAAD battery, for example. The Japanese already have Patriot 2s and 3s. The Japanese are already talking about civil defense and evacuations and stuff. Abe Shinzo said a couple of weeks ago he's worried about a medium-range ballistic missile with sarin gas. So yeah, I would imagine that the Japanese are going to start moving on.
Kelley said that any move to delete the anti-war clause of the Japanese constitution would result in a major political collision.
Instead, I think what you'll get is an increasing sort of dancing around the clause, which has kind of been happening for a while anyway, right? A full-blown effort to remove it would be an open collision with the sort of the pacifist left in Japan. People often say the Japanese don't feel contrition about the war. I don't think that's true. I think Japan's pacifism actually suggests that a lot of Japanese are uncomfortable with what happened, and this is how they're expressing that, right? And so that's important, I think, for Japanese contemporary democratic identity. For Abe to roll that back would be a major political collision.
Kelley also said, however, that if the North Koreans continue with their nuclear and missile tests, Abe could likely succeed in taking out the anti-war clause in the Japanese constitution, which was imposed by the US-led allies after the war.
I think he could probably win it. I do. The more the North Koreans do this stuff, the more I think Abe can win that fight. But if he can avoid having an open public explosion over whether or not Japan is pacifist, that's probably better. So my guess is he'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing on the boundaries. That's the wiser political strategy.
Kelley was in Manila for a lecture on Northeast Asian regional security at the Ateneo de Manila University.